Hi and welcome back. Today we are making oven-baked Parmesan and garlic ribs. Along with that we are making zucchini sticks and we'll have corn on the cob. So the ribs, for the recipe, you are using 1 rack of ribs. And for the ribs that I was able to find were this brand. I've never heard of it, to be honest with you, but it's Prairie Fresh Natural. They're supposed to be gluten-free, all natural pork loin ribs. So we're going to go ahead and use these, and I am going to take that membrane off of the back of the ribs, and I've shown you guys that before in my other videos where I've done ribs. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and pat dry the ribs. What I do is, and the recipe did not call for this, what I do is I boil the ribs just to kind of clean them and get anything off of them that shouldn't be on them. And once I do that, then we'll go ahead and prep it, and I'll be right back. All right, here are the ribs. They are looking good and they are very meaty. So I can't wait until after I boil them. And then once they boil, I'll go ahead and clean them off again, and we'll start the prep for baking them in the oven. We're going to bake them in the oven for an hour with a few seasonings, and then we're taking them out of the oven and we'll add some more seasonings. Okay, so the ribs have been boiled and they've been cleaned. I washed them and I patted them dry. And now we're adding olive oil to them. We're going to rub this in. Let's do it to the back also. All right, let's just do a little bit more here. You don't want to do too much oil. Alrighty. So then we are sprinkling about a tablespoon of oregano, and we will rub this into the ribs. This is different. I've never seen a recipe like this, and when I saw it, I was curious as to how it was going to come out. So let's go ahead and just add some to the back of it. Let's just sprinkle some. We want as much flavor as we can possibly get. Like I said, I had seen this recipe and I was curious because I've never really had ribs other than being smoked or with barbecue sauce on them. Okay, and now we are going to add salt. We're adding a teaspoon of salt. And this is half a teaspoon measuring, so it's so hard to do it with one hand. Okay. Now we will be adding more seasoning, so this isn't all the seasoning that we'll be doing. Oh, you know what? I think it's actually 2 teaspoons of salt. Okay, 2 teaspoons of salt. Hold on, I need to wash my hands. Okay, and then we want 1 teaspoon of black pepper on it. that in. And we'll rub it in here too. Okay, so now I'm going to put foil on top of it, and it'll cook in the oven for an hour. And then once an hour is done, then we'll add the other seasonings to it, which will be Parmesan, garlic, and the parsley. Just enough. Okay, so we'll put it in the oven for an hour. To go along with the spare ribs or the pork ribs, we're doing corn on the cob. And then I went ahead and I prepped the corn, and then I prepped the zucchini. I washed it and I cut it so that it's in spears. That way I can cover it with oil, olive oil, salt, pepper, and then sprinkle some Parmesan cheese and bake it in the oven. And now what I'm doing is I'm prepping the parsley. I need a tablespoon of parsley for the ribs, so I'm going to go ahead and chop these. I also did wash the parsley and I removed the stems from them. I've already chopped some, and this I'll freeze for future use. This will probably be more than a tablespoon, so whatever I don't use, I'll go ahead and put in that bag. So let's get chopping. Smells so good when you have the fresh parsley. I do use dried parsley in some of my recipes, if that's what they call for. And sometimes I just can't get to the grocery store to get fresh parsley. So you can substitute it. However, fresh is always best. All right. So we have chopped parsley, and we're going to be using about a tablespoon of this for the recipe. Okay, so the ribs have been cooking for an hour, and I temped them, and they're at 179 degrees. Now you want to definitely get them at least at 190 degrees or a little bit higher. That way the meat will fall off the bone or be tender. So right here we have a stick of butter melted, and I am adding a cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. We're also adding a tablespoon of freshly chopped parsley. And then here the recipe calls for 6 cloves of garlic. And this is 6 cloves of garlic is equivalent to 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. So we have 6 teaspoons of minced garlic. That's where all your flavor is. We'll mix it up together. And then we are going to put this on the ribs. Let's see, look at how yummy that looks. I don't know if I can brush this on. I'm going to probably use a spoon to put it on top of the ribs, and then maybe we'll brush them as we go along. All right, so let's go ahead. Now remember, this is all going to melt. It's going to cook right into the meat. It's going to be super delicious. All right. I should have probably done the bottom first. So let's go ahead and turn that over. Let's see if I can turn it with this. Yeah. Let's add some to the bottom. This looks so good. Let's going to taste delicious. Let's flip it one more time. Oh, that's all right. I'm going to get some up here. Make sure you get the sides if you can. And once we finish this, we'll put it in the oven again, and it'll bake for another 15-20 minutes, or until that temperature gauge reaches at least 190 degrees, if not higher. Just a little bit more. Okay. All right, that looks good. Okay, let's put it back in the oven to bake for a little bit longer. Now our zucchini is done. I just covered it up, but the zucchini is done. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that out and let it rest until the ribs are done, and the corn is done too. Okay, you guys, look at how delicious this looks. I'm just taking some of the butter and the oil and basting it a little bit, but these are done. These are going to be so good. Yum. Okay. Dinner's going to be ready in a couple minutes. All right, you guys, here we have the garlic Parmesan ribs, and we have the Parmesan crusted zucchini sticks and corn. That's what's for dinner.